Warren Buffett believes you should invest in businesses you understand. Swim with me for 7 minutes and we'll get out of the water together understanding more on today's spotlighted biotech, Agiospharmaceutical, AGIO. I break down complex information with my old school KISS engineering philosophy. KISS, of course, standing for keeping it simple, stupid. And again, according to Warren Buffett, you are stupid if you don't take some time to know the basics of the company before you put your hard-earned money into them. Let's jump in. Joining us as always is our lovely assistant, Carly.
Great to be talking with you today, Bobby Swimmer. Tell us, when did Agios get started?
Agios has been around. They formed around 2008. They're headquartered in one of the hotbed areas of biotech of Cambridge, Massachusetts. As of the end of 2024, they had about 480 employees, a pretty decent size. Their IPO initial public stock offering was way back in July of 2013. Pretty impressive for a biotech since they have been publicly traded for well over 12 years now.
So Boston, you say? Well, with the Boston Red Sox winning the World Series in 2004, at least the curse of the Bambino is broken. So none of the employees have to worry about that Babe Ruth trade anymore. So what does Agios focus on? What is their scientific niche?
Yeah, just like the Babe Ruth trade, Agios actually started within the oncology cancer sector, but more recently made a trade in their focus back in 2021. Back in 2021, they sold their oncology product line, including Tibsavo and Vorditinib, to a private French company called Servier for a good amount of $1.8 billion. They also included a royalty portion for their U.S. sales. They now exclusively focus on genetically defined diseases and metabolic hematologic disorders.
The 2021 deal sounds pretty good, especially with the ongoing royalty portion. Makes me think of Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank. So with their new focus on genetic diseases, which ones are Agios currently working on?
No doubt. Kevin O'Leary is pretty wonderful with his royalty deals on that show. So Agios has another taste of success with pyruvate kinase deficiency. They were able to earn FDA approval back in February of 2022 for their newest drug, Pyrukynd, which is an oral 2 times a day daily tablet, so pretty convenient for patients to dose with. It was the first approved disease-modifying drug to treat pyruvate kinase deficiency. They are actively trying to expand their approval into the pediatric population. That way they can help patients at a younger age than waiting all the way till 18.
Bobby, I think my wallet also has a deficiency. It always seems to be low on cash. Joking aside, with maybe a hint of truth, please tell us more about pyruvate kinase deficiency.
PK is an inherited genetic disease where both your mom and dad have to give you a bad copy of the defective gene. In this case, it's called the PKLR. When this gene isn't working, it causes a deficiency in energy, like not having enough cash in your wallet. And it significantly shortens the lifespan of your red blood cells, or for your night out on the town, if that's the case. Red blood cells are really amazing. They're unique because they rely on energy process called glycolysis. That's how they make their energy, which pyruvate kinase is the so-called star player. They make the energy reaction much easier, kind of like a batting practice coach throwing 50-mile-per-hour change-ups right down the plate, so that way you could rip them out of the park to warm up. So without the kinase, the glycolysis reaction is going to be weaker, slower, and just maybe not even happen. If this is the case, red blood cells will die. With normal PK, normal red blood cells live about 4 months. This is long enough for, of course, a baseball player to start out in spring training in April and then have the energy to make it all the way to the All-Star break in July. However, if you have even moderate level PK deficiency, your red blood cells only live a few weeks and sometimes even shorter, which, if you want another analogy, is long enough for some players and teams to already be out of the playoff race. Sorry, Los Angeles Angels, thinking of you here. Last time you were in the playoffs was 2015. Maybe you should change your mascot to Pyruvate Kinase Deficiency Dog.
I guess I should stop telling my glycolysis jokes. They don't ever get a good reaction. They must be lacking in energy too. Okay, but seriously, how does Pyrukynd help?
Yeah, that glycolysis joke needed a little more energy. See what I did there? Okay, without the right energy reaction, the red blood cells die early in a process called hemolytic anemia, which is kind of like bursting and leaking out, like a burst water balloon at a hot summer kid party. If too many of those red blood cells burst, then none of the hemoglobin's left to grab oxygen and transport it to our key organs. This means that people with PK deficiency have bad anemia, with debilitating fatigue, memory loss, brain fog, concentration issues, and barely enough energy to even pick up a baseball bat, let alone to swing it to hit a fastball. The daily Pyrukynd tablets in the clinical 3 Activate trial showed 2 out of 5 patients, and that was pretty impressive, 40%, with greater than 1.5 grams per deciliter of sustained increase in the hemoglobin. The hemoglobin, again, is that sticky molecule that holds and indirectly transports all the oxygen. By the way, I love this stat since 0% in that trial of the placebos achieved any increase. Patients also showed less red blood cell hemolytic destruction, less blood transfusion needs, and without any surprises, they also felt better. Another nice thing about the study was that the side effects were mild. Only about 5% of patients dropped out of the trial due to any side effects.
Wow, Pyrukynd's clinical 3 data sounds impressive. I understand that in addition to expanding the PK to pediatrics, Agios is also trying to expand to new indications of thalassemia and sickle cell disease. Tell us more.
Exactly right. With the safety data somewhat established, they have ongoing clinical trials of the drug in both thalassemia and sickle cell disease. Both of those 2 disorders also seem to have shortened lifespans of red blood cells, and Agios has a product that uniquely affects the metabolism energy pathway, which is somewhat unique than a lot of the competitors.
Thank you, Bobby. Sounds like we will be hearing more news from Agios with their ongoing attempts to expand Pyrukynd to other indications. Hopefully the news is all good so it can provide more help to patients with thalassemia and sickle cell disease.
I agree. Sounds like we'll have to have another episode of Agios. Put them on deck to talk about thalassemia and sickle cell. Thank you again, Carly, for all your assistance today, and thank you to our viewers for joining us. Be sure to join us for another episode of BioTech Swimmer, where we'll be diving into a new biotech company and, of course, keeping it simple. Don't miss out, and be sure to hit that subscribe button.